Welcome to Business Unmuted, sponsored by Virtue Motors, one of the UK's largest motor retailers. Check out its website at virtuemotors.com. I'm Graham Robb. I've owned Recognition PR for nearly 35 years. We've got 75 clients in multiple sectors based across the UK, and between them they have a turnover of around £6 billion and employ around 30,000 staff. So we're at the front line of the business community, perfectly placed to discuss the economic climate and what business is up to. Today, we're joined by Casey Woodward, founder and CEO of AgriSound, a biotech company from York. And in business, we know that community engagement is very important. So today, we've got two charity leaders joining us. Down the line, we've Michelle Cooper, Chief Executive of the County Durham Community Foundation, which provides grants to community-focused charities that are placed to fight poverty, among other things. And in the studio, we've got Helen Hunter, the CEO of Age UK, Darlington and North Yorkshire. So thank you, and thank you all for joining us for this edition of Business Unmuted. First, Casey, your business is a really interesting case study in what the future of tech businesses is, because it's applied to a sector which is very traditional, farming. Tell us what you do.
Thanks. So what we do here at AgriSound is we develop technologies that can be used by anyone, but we focus more on farmers and landowners to use smart sound analysis to monitor insects in the environment. And we do that to help provide real-time information on biodiversity, which is something that is increasingly of interest in CSR agendas.
Okay, we'll explore how it benefits the farmers and the society in general in a minute. But what is it that you actually sell to them?
So we have some unique hardware which we sell, which we lovingly call an Amazon Alexa for bees. But alongside that, there is a data subscription that goes with that product, and that enables the end user to access all of the algorithms that we've developed in our data analytics platform, so they can see all of the information in real time on their smartphone.
So if a farmer buys this platform and this technology, how will it operate and what will be the benefits?
So the product is really easy to install. They install them in their orchard or in their farm, or wherever they would like. And then there's one switch on the product itself. So we turn the product on, and then it's operational. And so what that device is doing is listening out for the sounds of pollinators 24/7, so 365 days a year. And what that device is doing is giving you a picture of kind of what's happening in terms of the pollinators in that local area. And that information is really important, actually, because what we can use that information for is to improve crop yields. We can use it to improve crop quality as well. And ultimately, we do this by getting bees and pollinators into the right place at the right time.
Right. Now, the societal benefit of that is environmental, isn't it? What's the benefit to everyone if farmers were to adopt this technology across the board?
Well, I think hopefully everyone knows that pollinators are undergoing a bit of a tough time at the moment. We're seeing kind of record levels of extinction events for pollinator species, and they really need much more help than we're currently able to provide. And so the whole rationale behind the technology was, we use this to identify those areas in which pollinators are most at threat, and then we can then take actions to help those local pollinator communities to recover. So we know that over 75% of all food crops are dependent on insect pollinators to varying extents. We know that 1 in 3 mouthfuls of food are dependent on insect pollinators. So, clearly without these little bugs, we would be in quite a mess. And I think and we think of it typically around food, but actually in terms of the value that insects and pollinators provide to the global economy, it comes out in the region of $500 billion. And that's from the raw materials, that's from obviously the food and all those post-processing things that we take for granted.
That's fantastic. Now, here's an interesting question. You're a small business, you're a tech business, you're a science business, and just this week the government has changed the way it's organised itself so that there's a department which is a Department of Science, Innovation and Technology, which at face value sounds like it's just the kind of department that a business like yours needs to connect up with what the government and the country's economic objectives should be. What did you think about that?
I think it's a great step in the right direction. I think early stage fledgling technology businesses have a really unique set of requirements that are very different from other forms of businesses. And I think having a stronger voice to be able to champion those perspectives in the wider government will, I think, only help to make sure these companies give their best chance to succeed.
Now, you're an early startup business. How long have you been going, and what kind of help have you had and could you do with?
We've been very fortunate. So I set the company up in 2020, but we've been very fortunate to have quite a bit of financial support from the government in the forms of grants. We've also had mentoring and other forms of support from advisors that are supported by the government. So we've been very fortunate. We've had a lot of support from the government because this is an area which they're particularly keen on. But I think that there's always more that could be done. And I think if the government can help us to accelerate our growth and to grow faster, then actually that will be great in terms of more jobs, more benefit to the wider economy, but also perhaps arguably the biggest benefit will be the environmental benefit. And we see there's lots of legislation coming through around the Environment Act and DEFRA, and changes to farm subsidies post Brexit. So I'm really excited about this change. Actually, I think it will be really one to look out for.
Well, Casey, well done to you, because it's no mean feat. You in less than 3 years, you've got eight jobs created. That's growth. That's meaningful. That's a noble thing for a business to have done. And maybe you could be a case study for this policy. We'll come back to you soon, though. So stay on the line. We'll come back to you at the end of the programme. Now, let's turn our attention to a slightly different subject, that of CSR. And corporate social responsibility, as it's known. Charities and corporate social organisations, community interest companies and the like, are more and more prevalent in dealing with businesses now. It's not just about delivering services to end users, it's also about linking the business community to what they do. Now, here in our studio and down the line, we've got two great examples of northern-based charities that demonstrate the way in which business links together with their end objectives. First, let's talk to Michelle Cooper from the County Durham Community Foundation. A quick elevator pitch for what the Community Foundation does before we talk about the issues.
I think first, thank you, Casey. You kind of took me back to my investment days in early stage tech. So sounds a brilliant company and absolutely loved it. The Community Foundation effectively works with businesses, individuals, public sector as well. We raise money. We then get that out to very small grassroots charities who are at the forefront of the issues that we're seeing in society today. To be honest, we've been seeing them since the 27 years that we've been in existence. So grants that we will award are very much addressing issues of poverty, the cost of living crisis. We talk about fighting poverty and enriching lives. That is our remit. So although a lot of our work is sometimes quite harsh and we're supporting groups working in a very difficult place, we hear wonderful stories coming back about the impact that a small grant has in a community organisation and how it has enriched somebody's lives. So fighting poverty, enriching lives.
Okay, now that's what you do and how you do it. And community foundations there is a sort of unofficial network of them around the country, so people might be watching this video or listening to this podcast in other parts of the north of England. There are, particularly in Yorkshire, there are other community foundations, aren't there?
Yeah, absolutely. So our work focuses across County Durham and Tees Valley. Those are the two areas that we cover through this network of community foundation members. There are 46 other community foundations. So you have Wales has their own, Scotland and across in Ireland as well. And then typically most community foundations are drawn around county borders. So pretty much wherever you are, there is a community foundation. And actually, if you add all the community foundations up, we are about the fourth or fifth biggest grant maker across the UK.
We'll come to the grant making in a moment, but let's talk about the finding money to make the grants from.
Absolutely.
I was privileged to be invited in autumn to your launch of the Poverty Hurts campaign very appropriate given the cost of living issues that are being faced by communities across the country. This was in Durham. And what was interesting to me, having attended my first launch of something of yours, was the depth and breadth of people from the business community that you had. You had everyone from manufacturing firms to law firms. You had people who were retired. You had new young businesses. It was amazing. Now, how have you managed to engage so widely with businesses?
It's word of mouth, a lot of it. So people see other actions and there's a desire to learn. There's different models through which people can engage. So in the startup world, there is something called the Founders Pledge, and one of our supporters effectively gave some money through that route. So when you're a startup, you can't afford necessarily to give huge amounts of money, but effectively once you grow and exit that business, then you have a mechanism and there's a formalized method. So I do work in the startup culture. I work with various business organizations across the county. I'm a member of business clubs so that we can engage and meet different businesses there. You then meet different businesses who actually have a passion around, it's kind of in their DNA. It's a phrase I use quite often, and then we're a mechanism to help them live through their DNA. If I take Darlington Building Society, they work on a profits pledge model. We run a lot of wind farm community benefit funds if you're a renewable energy company. So some businesses come to us, and then we actively find business as well who wish to engage in the community but don't necessarily know how, and we can provide that structured route to the community groups.
I think that's an important point. We're going to talk to Helen in a minute, and her offer is very clear. It's about older people. Your offer could be about young people, it could be about poverty, it could be about addiction, health, that kind of thing. Now, the other thing you have is quite a powerful board. I know the chairman is a very respected leader I think he works for Deloitte, and you have a very good board. Is constructing a board fundamental to your success in the business world?
Do you know what? So for charities in general, I think how you go about constructing your board, you have to be very clear in what you want. And actually, sometimes it's hard for business leaders to kind of manage that conflict of opening up their little black book. So I think you have to be very sensitive when you're working with your, identifying trustees, be very honest with them. And ideally, I think, identify the key skills that a trustee can bring. Right. Be very open and honest about how you would wish them to deploy those skills. Because it can be hard for them to say, can you go and tap up so-and-so, and can you go and talk to them? That's not really their skill. So yes, the board is critical, but I think we have to be respectful as kind of charity leaders as well as about how you work with your trustees and ask them to be your ambassador, effectively, your advocate. Okay,
I'm going to bring Helen in just a minute, I promise, but just very quickly, tell us about the success of this Poverty Hurts campaign. And it is a success, albeit the reason you've had to have it is a bad reason. It is a successful outcome.
Yes, thanks for framing that, because it is a nightmare trying to explain it. So we set a target in November of raising £1 million to help local charities. To date, we have hit about £700,000. No sooner have we got that money in than we have been awarding it out as grants. We have been providing grants that are frankly keeping the doors open of charities so that they can help their communities and their clients. We've been funding projects that help people in difficulty, and we've been providing finance that help individuals who may have some really complex lives and overcome their barriers. That's all done through charities, though. We don't give any money to individuals directly ourselves, but we do support charities. We have now awarded hundreds of thousands of pounds, and this is literally in months. And what we're finding, we've helped over 30,000 people through this funding. And it's typically coming through at about £15 per intervention is the impact that, when people say, I can't give much, I think we're able to demonstrate that actually every pound does count. And through the grassroots community organisations we support, they can make every pound make a difference. And we're really seeing that £15, and you can change somebody's life with that.
Well, congratulations so far, and I know it still concludes. You've got another 25% of your target to raise, so congratulations so far. There is something that joins both of you together recently, which is in the north of England, a TV transmitter burned down a couple of years ago, and my firm, full disclosure, my firm's helped the PR and communications from the large corporate that owned the transmitter, and both you and Helen help that organisation in communicating with vulnerable people. So Helen, engaging with business is a fundamental part of Age UK, not just serving elderly people.
Absolutely. What we were seeing when the mast went down was a tremendous effect on older people who really rely upon the television for company, for information. They're not getting out, they're not seeing people. So our helplines were just absolutely buzzing because people couldn't understand why their TVs weren't working. And that's where we kind of, came together, and the company didn't have that kind of connection with the community and with older people, and we could provide that. And it was really a match made in heaven, wasn't it? I mean, it just worked beautifully. So we could support the organisation to actually communicate and let them know what was going on and what was going to happen. And equally, the company could support us. So we were really busy, so we needed extra resources, and they provided that.
And Michelle's team was also helpful. So moving on to the communication with business in general, your base is in Darlington, but you cover a whole area of North Yorkshire as well. What kind of links do you have with the business community?
Not as strong as I would like, because we're so busy sort of, delivering services. But my background working in larger charities, I was head of fundraising and partnerships. So it's something that I've done in my past a lot, and it's something I really want to kind of create in the local charity I work in now. But, it's about supporting us. Of course, it's about donations. Every charity wants a bit of cash and donations. We're always, running to the bone. But for me, it's also about having a really meaningful partnership, and about supporting some of our events and fundraising events. It's about lending expertise, volunteering time, advising, getting involved. I mean, I have businesses involved. I mean, mainly it is through trustees, but they provide some really great expertise, as Michelle said. That's really meaningful for us.
And that's great, and I think it is important that you get this out of the business relationship. But being blunt, what does the business get out of the relationship with you and with Michelle? I'm sure Michelle will have a stab at answering this as well.
Well, for me, it's about, it's mutually beneficial, isn't it? Because, I have a very successful brand that actually can look quite good for an organisation.
No question.
It's also about the company's customers realising that they care about the community, because it's about, and it's also, I think it's really important.
Certainly the case in the TV transmitter.
Absolutely, yeah. And they genuinely did. I mean, I wouldn't have got involved if I hadn't sat down with the CEO and I really, he convinced me that he really did care and he really wanted to sort this out. So I was very, very happy to work with him.
You were quite a terrier in that meeting, actually.
Surely
you
not.
You were, yes.
But I'm representing, I'm representing older people, and we've kind of got to have that. So it's also great for employees as well. You see better employee satisfaction. They really believe in their organisation. So it's mutually beneficial, for both sides, really.
I mustn't let you go without a plug for something.
Yes.
You've got the Tees Valley Mare coming to an after-work event.
Yes.
6th of March.
That's right.
So the first Monday of March, I think that's right.
That's right.
Tell me what the idea is and how it'll run. Where is it?
So it's at our centre in Darlington, in the town centre, Bradbury House. And the idea is just, for me, it's a way to engage with local corporates. I want to be talking about CSR. I want them to see what we can do. Because the other thing is, it's about we have a cafe and we have various other services. It's not, yes, great to have money and donations, but actually if you use us, if you hire some rooms in our building, if you come and have your breakfast meetings in our cafe, that's giving me sustainable, unrestricted income, which means I can do a lot more and provide more services to older people. So it's about showcasing what we're doing, our building. I really, it's about education around CSR, but also with having Ben there and also the leader of the council as well, Jonathan, it's about looking at the economic development of Darlington as well. So it's something useful.
Which you are part of. You have a significant building in the town.
Yeah.
Thank you, Helen. Michelle, I'm going to throw that question I asked Helen just over to you as well, because I'm sure you'll have your own way of putting it. So being candid, you're running a business, maybe Casey or myself are running a business. Why? Why get involved?
Yeah, so I think Helen has answered it very well, I would add, and then maybe we can segue back to Casey. I can give you an example of a local company. Environment and climate was very important to them, trying to find ways for the community to engage in that. And we ran a Greening Communities project. So it aligned with their corporate objectives, gave them a way to engage with their communities on a really local level. And we got some fantastic nature, wildlife, bee-related projects even, Casey. So I think, it's a nice thing to do. It's a good thing to do, and it can really align with your corporate objectives.
Casey, what do you have to say? I'm going to give you last word on today's programme. What do you have to say about what Michelle and Helen have said?
I think I completely agree. And I think that we're moving into an era now, particularly as millennials and Gen Z come through, that actually, CSR is increasingly important, and consumers will put their money where the people, live and breathe their values. So I think the work that we've heard about today is tremendous, and hats off to both of them.
Well, Casey, Michelle, Helen, thank you for taking part in this edition of Business Unmuted. We'll be back same time next week.